Charlie, good afternoon.
Good afternoon again, Ross.
Welcome, everybody, to another one of our state finals mini-sodes, proudly sponsored by the Miami Sharks. We thank them for their support of TFRO. Miami Sharks MLR obviously coming up next season. You can go back to the start and click on that QR code and get information about season tickets already, Charlie. Exciting stuff.
I'm hoping to get in just by being pressed,
Exactly.
And not to pay. But if I have to pay, I'll have to pay.
You're famous enough. Well, we've only got 10 minutes, and I've already wasted a minute. So let's get to our guest for this episode, who is Brett Stubbs of the Palm Beach Panthers, defending national champions in Division III. And they will start, I guess, technically the defense of their title here in the postseason with a finals matchup against those darn Brevard Red Eyes. Oh, we lost Stubbs, did we?
No, we lost him. He's on his phone. He should be back soon. Yeah, this is the third. I think it's a third straight encounter with Brevard in D3. We have to do something with these three because it's getting boring. At least these two, it's always the Tridents, but somebody else.
Yeah, these two have certainly dominated over the last couple of years. Gainesville were around for a little bit. I remember refereeing the final with Gainesville. There's Stubbs back again.
Now I can hear.
It's that useless cell service out in the sticks there, Stubbs.
I'm not in the sticks.
So as we mentioned, another tilt between these two sides, which seems to have been a common theme over the last few years. I know Gainesville were in there for one of them, I think, at least. But Palm Beach is a dominant D3 side over the last few years. But things have changed a little bit, Brett, this year. You're coaching now after their departure of Chris Deuceisen, who led you guys to the national championship last year. But talk about this season, how it's gone for you as a player and a coach and for the entire squad.
I think that the season's really been a challenge. It's been challenging as a player. It's been challenging just as like a club and an organization. There was a lot of changeover from last year to this year. Obviously, Oos moving on, which, fully support. He has a great life ahead of him. He's having a great time. We had a lot of player changeover too. If you look at the side that we ended the season with last year versus the amount of players that we have this year, it's probably 75% changeover from what we had in the past. So definitely a lot of changeover. And then just attrition, life, injury has really dampened training. Like you mentioned earlier, I kind of wanted to walk away. Or at least, I was looking forward to my old boy playing days where, you could get a call on the weekend and then, it's just a match. But, knowing that the club was going to need help transitioning and it was going to need some senior leadership, at least in the coaching, a lot of players have stepped up. And so I felt like I couldn't let the club kind of squander what they had. But yeah, definitely a challenging year overall for Palm Beach, I would say, just from an organizational standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, obviously losing your coach doesn't help, but where have the challenges been off the field? Where do you see, like most teams, the challenges off the field?
I think it's just when the other stuff gets in the way and the different perspectives of guys and how they view the club and the commitment that they bring. Lots of guys are super committed. They're working hard. I had a baby in October. Like I got, a little one. So if I can't make training, that's really hard on the club organizationally just to have training go. And we've had a lot of that kind of stuff come up. Players who have gotten married, are having kids, moving on with their lives, those type of things. And so it's just been hard to kind of fill those gaps at the end of the season, really.
Looking at the schedule, you guys pretty much beat everybody by 40 points, minus Brevard, which you had just one game, which was pretty tight, one try away. So, and last year, that was a very exciting game, won by 1 point, as you probably remember, at the last minute. So this is going to be most likely another game like that.
Yeah, Ross, you made mention of the years where Gainesville was the dominant club for a long time, and it was kind of Palm Beach battling with them every year. And then we've had a dominant run, but then we've been battling with Brevard every year. We've had a lot of close matches with them. I think that they've steadily improved. I can't speak to what their club or what their state is right now, but they seem to be on the come up, and we seem to be kind of stagnant. And that's just, that's eventually, you play a team over and over and over again. One of those matches is not going to go your way. I think that was a big change for us with Gainesville back in like 2016, maybe it was. Brevard has definitely been building towards something. So, hats off to them. I look forward to Saturday.
You guys won't be giving up your state title easy, obviously, Stubbs. What does it take to win in the postseason compared to, say, during the regular season? Where do you guys, obviously, you went all the way last year to a national championship, but what does it take to win in the postseason?
It takes a lot of commitment. I think it's going to be easier track this year for Florida teams because the regional runs through Orlando. Yep. But, outside of Florida, I think the divisions of rugby are really more aligned with skill and less about how the club perceives itself. Brevard is a great club, and I think that they could definitely compete. But, we've seen clubs barely advance out of the state because they run into competition that's more aligned with the levels. Now, Tampa had a good run last year, but, they're down and out this year. They're not the bottom of the division, but they're not making the playoffs this year for D2. So I think that there's definitely some realignment that has to occur when clubs go out into the playoffs. We had a quality side, really put up pretty well in the playoffs last year. But like I said, there's been a lot of changeover. So I don't know if we would do as well this year.
Yeah. So how many starters back from that title side do you expect to have on Saturday? Out
of the 23, I did this at the beginning of the year, and it's probably changed since then. Out of the 23 that we played on that weekend, I think that there is probably only 6 or 7 players.
Oh wow!
That started or started a game that weekend.
And how many?
Definitely a lot of changeover. We had a lot of older players. Even watching the highlights that you're playing right now, recognizable squad in the pink, but not recognizable in the face.
And how did you manage to recruit those? How many new players did you have come in? You obviously had to bring in some new blood. I assume winning a national title helps with that.
Yeah, I think we had a few new players come in, which has definitely been helpful. Really, we haven't had a ton. I think that's a problem that us and some other area teams deal with because we don't have a collegiate program that really feeds to us. Palm Beach is, there's no local team. You have FAU that kind of moves on to Boca. You got FIU and Miami who can end up on one of the Miami squads. You got USF that kind of feeds Tampa. Even Gainesville has UF. So we don't really have a natural feeder. We kind of thrive on new blood from year to year to keep the squad full. I think the big challenge was that core group that we've had for this said run has kind of depleted because they have kind of aged out and moved on. And that's kind of where we're finding this gap is we don't have quite the crop, and we also have a lot of attrition.
That's some nice scene right there with you.
Yeah, me and embracing after Bo took the game into his own hands to score that final try. I mean, I watched these highlights. I posted them to the team chat last night to remind them what the battle's going to be like on Saturday. I think we went into this match with the mindset that we were a much better team. I mean, they were up, I think I recall, 21-3 at half.
Yeah.
It was the final 27-5.
It was 20. It was 1 point, 24, 23, something like that.
So, and I think we had a bunch of missed kicks. We left some points certainly on the field, but
yeah. Do you have a good kicker this year? Kickers can't do without them. Come on.
Yeah, I would say we don't quite have the golden boot of Philpott that we used to have. So we kind of live and die by our open field play than we do our kicking game sometimes.
Okay. So let's wrap this up. Ross, you know what to do?
Yeah, it's tough. So Miami Sharks, our sponsor for this one. How excited are the Palm Beach boys about getting an MLR team just an hour down the road or so?
I think that's really exciting for everyone. You know, we've had a few players who have kind of gone up to Academy at ATL. Good on them. And so I think they're really excited to have that opportunity. I think it's just great for the sport overall for us to have a communal team that we can all kind of root for together rather than just rooting for our local clubs. I think that, supporting them, don't hate that pink's in their colors, so that doesn't hurt us at all. So I can wear their gear and feel good about it. But I'm looking forward to see what they get. I think the MLR competition is certainly increased from where it started. The level that they have, the organization that they've had. It's nice that it's kind of going. We would love to see it support more of our collegiate players. I know that that's always a kind of rub, but definitely would love to see, some, Gators out there, some Bulls, some Knowles. Some of the local collegiate guys moving on to that team would definitely be exciting.
For sure. I'm sure they'll get the opportunity to at least show their talents at a combine or tryout, etc. Well, Stubbs, safe travels up to Bradenton, and best of luck Saturday in what should be, I think, could be the best match of the day.
Cheers. I hope it's the best match of the day. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you very much. I'll see you on the field on Saturday, hopefully on the good side.
Always.
Where you guys are jumping around. At least once more. Okay, thank you, Brett. Bye.
Cheers.